Hi, I'm Joe Mimran, and welcome back to the Export Impact Podcast. Get ready for an insightful and thought-provoking episode as we delve into the world of visionary Canadians who dare to dream big, take risks, and make a global impact. Today, our guest is Jean Belanger, President and CEO of PremierTech. PremierTech is a true marvel of a company, venturing into a diverse range of industries, including robotics, systems automation, horticulture, and life sciences. But hold on, because they are also ranked among the largest packaging equipment manufacturers on the entire planet. Yet despite their global reach, PremierTech remains deeply connected to its Canadian roots. And today, Jean is here to share his invaluable knowledge about harnessing Canadian expertise and successfully selling it on the world stage. I'd like to begin today's episode by acknowledging that we're recording from my office in Toronto, which is on the traditional unceded territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We value taking this moment to deepen the appreciation of our Indigenous communities wherever we are and to remind ourselves of our shared debt to Canada's First Peoples. Hello, Jean, and welcome to the Export Impact Podcast.
Hello, it's a real pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you. To kick things off, Jean, could you provide us with a deeper understanding of PremierTech? With such diverse involvement in various industries, how do you effectively bring all these facets together and create a cohesive company culture?
That's a very good question. PremierTech is turning 100 years young this year. So we started in 1923. We're actually launched in New York. So it's two German brothers emigrated to the US, part of a German family producing horticultural products and exporting to the US. And the two young members of the family were sent to the US. They immigrated to open a sales office. And within a few years, they started looking for sourcing a bit more locally their products. So they opened their first peat moss manufacturing plant here in Canada near Rivière-du-Loup, where we have our world headquarters today, in 1933. And PremierTech remained a pure play involving horticulture for a big chunk of those 100 years. We actually pivoted and started diversifying the company in 1990. That's when we launched our systems and automation business, followed by our water and environment business in 1995, and followed suit a bit later, 5 years ago, with our digital business and our life sciences business. And the diversification of PremierTech really came from a vision or a view of how can we leverage our competencies, knowledge base, and assets to not only deliver value to our customers, but also create opportunities for our team members to exploit their talent and their commitment to putting these technologies and this knowledge into something that could really have an impact. Starting back in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, we always designed and manufactured most of the technologies we use in our peat moss plants. And when I started in the mid-1980s as a young engineer trainee here with a few friends from high school and university, we soon realized that our competitors were borrowing with pride. They were having some of the technologies we invented, some of the products we designed, and they were having them manufactured by third parties. And we said, what the heck? Why don't we start offering these technologies and our knowledge to our direct competitors? Back then, and we're like in mid-1989, our board of directors and my manager back then was not very enthused with the idea. I said, are you out of your mind selling our technology and helping our competitors to become more competitive? But I said, look, they're having it made. No, it's not because we say we're not going to sell you or we're not going to offer you the technology from the original designers that they're going to refrain themselves from having access to it. So long story short, after about a year, they said, you know what? You guys are going to fail. But to be good managers, to be entrepreneurs, to be business leaders, you need to have your small failures and your mistakes and learn from them. So okay, you guys go do this and you'll come back better to the real company.
That's a great story. You were saying that you started by working summers at the company while you were studying to become an industrial engineer, which is super interesting. And I guess those are the influences that I guess you developed your own leadership style through those learnings, I would imagine.
Indeed. Like I like to say, when you're in school, in university, and let's say industrial engineer, in my case, you have a lot of homeworks and projects that you do as a team, and you're the best one writing a document. You become the leader of putting the document together. You're somebody that is better in physics or in math or in thermodynamics, then you take the lead. So the style of leadership we really implemented when we launched what we call PremierTech Systems and Automation today was really a leadership of who's good at doing what. And it was really collegial in the way we built the business. And a couple of years later, the management back then said, look, we've been working for 5 years and finding new application for peat moss. It's a filtration media. We're working on this product called EcoFlow to treat on-site wastewater from residential homes. But we're not getting there. And we're thinking of dropping it because it's complex. It's a lot of science, it's biology. And basically, we're a horticulture company. But you guys are engineers, you're in technology. Would you be interested in having a look at it? Obviously, we were not such a big company, so we knew about the project. And we said, look, okay, we can do this, but we're going to do this under our own terms. We're going to turn a R&D project into a business proposition. And we're going to do it our way. Again, the strength of the team and I would say the talent density we had, not in terms of science, but in terms of competencies. Well, today we're number one worldwide for on-site wastewater in Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, United Kingdom, here in Canada, in many states in the US. I forgot to say that in the first year or so, we were forbidden to sell to our competitors here in Canada. We were allowed to sell to peat moss producers in Europe with whom we were not really competing. So our first markets were Finland, Sweden, USSR, Germany, UK. So we were born exporting. We had to export to survive. And after a year and a half, they said, okay, you guys are doing good. You can try selling to our competitors in Canada, which we did and succeeded, like I said.
So it's interesting, right? The culture that you built sounds very entrepreneurial. Sounds like you used a lot of skunkwork teams with existing talent and just said, go for it. And most companies would build this kind of portfolio that you have through acquisition because they wouldn't have the right, I would say, spirit within their company to create all these different channels of business, even though I would say engineering is at the heart of it, but still very different businesses and very entrepreneurial. You've been in business, you said 100 years. What are you doing to celebrate the 100 years? It's a remarkable achievement. It's an incredible milestone for particularly in Canada. You hear about 100-year-old companies in Europe. You don't often hear about it in Canada. And it certainly surprised me when I read about your business and learned about your business. So I'd love to hear what you're doing to commemorate such a auspicious moment.
So for me, the biggest celebration of all is when you go to a colleague, you go to somebody in your team and you say, you know what? Job well done. Thank you. That's easy to say. You have to say it with heart. And it's a powerful celebration of teamwork and working together. And that's been at the heart of all we've built PremierTech. Turning 100 years young to me, because there's so much potential, so much runway ahead of us that I insist on saying to my team, we're not 100 years old. We're 100 years young. And that's how we launched the year in January when I took the stage at our annual top managers meetings. This is a special year because we're 100 years young and you know about the potential, about all the ideas you have in your teams and your businesses around the world. We're going to make it a special year. We have to keep our eyes on the ball. We have to deliver upon our promises to our customers, but there's loads of events around the world. We have more than 65 either offices or manufacturing plants, what we call home bases around the world. And they all have their day where they're going to celebrate being part of PremierTech, being a business that has 100 years of history. And we have the major main event will be at our world headquarters on September 9, where we're going to be hosting close to 5,000 people, team members, family, some suppliers, partners, longtime strategic partners. So we have people from around the world coming for a 2-day celebration.
You're going to be a busy host, 5,000 people. That's a lot of people to say hello to.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
This is a point where we like to focus a lot on the sort of the export part of your business. And just tell us a little bit about your experience you had a few years ago that shifted your perspective on exporting.
I got invited to a dinner in Quebec City where there would be a few CEOs and entrepreneurs and business leaders. And we're maybe 7, 8 of us. And at one point we're asked, could you tell us, what do you think EDC does? Somebody said, well, you're there to support Canadian companies to export. You're there to encourage us to go and open up new markets outside of our province or outside of Canada. So it goes on back and forth like that for maybe a few minutes. And then he goes, well, no, we're in the business of imports. So everybody had a big question mark. And he says, well, if you want to create value in a society, you don't create value by trading locally. You don't create value by trading within your own province or between provinces. You create value when you export and then you import currencies. You import money from outside of your own country. That's where you create value. And EDC is there to make sure that Canada as a country becomes more and more rich, has more ability to maintain and grow our way of life and protect our civil liberties and everything that we're known of as a country. And that was really like, wow, that's a very interesting way of putting it and highlighting the true value of exporting. It's not just about, I want to export because I want to export. If you have a product that does very well and you're happy within your own province or between the Maritimes, then it's okay. It's not an end in itself. It's tough to export. You have to travel. You have to learn different culture, different regulations, depending on your product and the industry you're in. You might face some regulatory issues and all sorts of different rules, different competitors, different behaviors. So you have to do this for reasons that are meaningful to you, your people, that will give your technology or your product the next level of voice and reach in the marketplace. But it's not an easy game to play.
It's not an easy game to play. And EDC does provide this impetus for people that want to take the risk and want to share the risk. In essence, I mean, that's what they really help you do, is they help you in sharing that risk. But the fact that it is a government agency, they do have to be selfish in the sense that it has to benefit Canada. And that's how it benefits Canada, right? The more, like you said, the more that you can export. And that's a fascinating aspect of exporting, is how it really does help us import. I'm curious, you're in so many different countries. Perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about the countries you're in, the experiences that you've had. You touched on some of the regulations, some of the barriers of entry, and some of the difficulties when you export. But I would think in your particular case, you have even that many more, because you're dealing in so many different product categories and services where regulations must change from one industry to the next. Then you've got all different ways of selling. You've got different customs. You've got, I'm sure, big contracts you have to put into place, long-term contracts that require very detailed vetting before you get involved. How do you manage all of that? How do you deal with it? And how have you dealt with these hurdles? That's a lot of questions in there.
Yeah, it's multiple good questions. Well, first, it makes every day an exciting day. So if you're looking for a bit of a thrill, then it's fine. I think at PremierTech, we have the double aspects of, we're a Canadian company. We have locations in multiple provinces, 8 out of 10 where we have manufacturing plants and or offices. So we're an exporter, but we are also international operators. We have manufacturing. We have 48 manufacturing facilities in 16 countries. So in those countries, we're not only local for the country, but very often we export. We have a manufacturing plant in Bangkok, Thailand, serving Southeast Asia in our systems and automation business. We have a plant in Hyundai in Brazil supporting Latin America and so on and so forth. So you have to become local. And we like to say we're a global company. We're global. We have people in 28 countries. We sell in close to 100 countries. We have manufacturing plant in 16. We export from each of these locations. None of those locations, those manufacturing plants are there for sourcing low-cost labor. They're there with regional mandates or continental mandates. And you have to become local. You have to embrace the local culture. We have a PremierTech culture, but we have to find a way that how do we decline the Quebec original PremierTech culture when we're in Alabama, when we're in former East Germany and Boisenburg, east of Hamburg. How we are local in Thailand while being global and being PremierTech. So it's a very difficult or challenging task. It's not something that you do overnight. You cannot arrive and just start spray painting everything, whatever color is your color. PremierTech, we're blue. So our logo is blue. We bleed blue. We say you cannot do that. And a lot of our diversification was not through acquisition. It was born within the company through our assets, knowledge base, and competencies. But our international expansion was through acquisition to acquire right off the bat the connection with local culture, the understanding of the regulations, the connection with the customers, how to behave, how to act, how to sell in Southeast Asia. How do you interact with a company in Indonesia, in the rice industry, or in Vietnam, or in China? So we wanted to make sure that we gave our potential the full support it required. So we needed to become also an international operator with manufacturing plants and then salespeople and service people and local people in different cultures and languages. But at the same time, we wanted to manage the risk. And we saw that through acquisition, that would be the better way to do it. There's only two countries, or actually three, where we started greenfield: the US, Canada in 1933, and China in 2010. We went through acquisition, and about 63% is organic growth, and more or less 38 would be through acquisition. So for us, acquisitions have been a special leverage or a special strategy to do two things: to accelerate our international growth and the mastery of everything you highlighted before, and become organic growth platforms. How can we download or upload, should I say, technologies, processes, brands, customer relationship, products into a company we acquired? And how can we download the same thing from them and redeploy it in a different country? 10 years ago, we made an acquisition in Germany in rainwater harvesting and recycling. Since then, we pivoted those technologies to our French operations, to our Portugal operation, and the one in the UK in Newcastle, so that we could create more business. And it was impossible to export from Germany. It was feasible, but not on a large scale. Cost of transportation, not very efficient from a cost standpoint or from a sustainability standpoint. So we did technology transfer, manufacturing transfer, and we've been able to generate a lot of good organic growth and create jobs in all those countries.
I would think, though, the amount of work that's involved in just leading an acquisition, the due diligence, again, you're in a foreign country. To do due diligence in a foreign country now that's a lot of work. You've got to find the capital. Did you use EDC or any other agencies to assist in either identifying these opportunities or help with the due diligence process? Because mergers and acquisitions, it's a whole expertise all in of itself.
It's a business in itself. We did our first acquisition in 1995. And it was really local. It was here in Quebec. It was like 10 kilometers up the road. So it was kind of an easy one. But in 1997, we did our second one in Ireland, and then quickly followed by a couple in Germany in 1999 and 2000. And again, there we decided that we would not subcontract our responsibilities, that we would leverage the network of the Quebec or Canadian government in understanding how to do business in Germany and how do you approach a company in Germany. But we would be the one making the first contact. we would be at a table negotiating. We would have Canadian, Quebec-based lawyers. They might have counterparts in Germany for local laws, for tax analysis, or for understanding the document. And there was no ChatGPT to translate it back then. So you had to go with good old dictionary, the good old days. But still, we built again a practice, the processes of how do you bring a meaningful acquisition target, but I see this in a very respectful manner. How do you bring them to the table? Some we worked on them for 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, just building the relationship. We knew that company XYZ has a technology or has a market position that would be meaningful to us. And we're long-term players. We don't know the date, but we know the day.
That's amazing. That's patience. But you also have to have the staying power. You have to have the ability to do that, right? I mean, many companies don't have that kind of depth to be able to do a 5 to 7 year strategy. But when you're working, I guess, across multiple countries, again, multiple lines, you have some that I think are immediate wins, some are midterm wins, and some are probably long-term goals and long-term wins that you've got to strategize, right? Now, you mentioned ChatGPT, and AI is on everybody's tongue right now. I'm sure you're working on stuff that is impacting your business, and AI's got to be pretty high on your hit parade. Without divulging any secrets, what are you doing in that area?
I think we're doing a lot, but it's going so fast. We all talk about AI, and it's true. And it's going to profoundly change the way we manage and run our businesses. But there are still some of the good old tools that are powerful with the computing power that we have now available, like statistics and probabilities and stuff like that, that for some application, it does the job. It's perfect. Then you go to specific algorithms that are available out there, and then machine learning, and then you go large learning models like ChatGPT, LLMs. So we're working across a bandwidth of projects that will either change the way we run internal processes to embedding it into our products and the way we make them more efficient, or we become more predictive in when they will require service and support. And at the end, it's to give our customers the information they need in a timely, relevant, and actionable manner. And this is something where we see major impacts in the way we run and deliver value to our customers. We run the business and deliver value in the next 3 to 5 years.
Oh, yeah. 10 years ago, it was the Internet of Things that was sort of on the tip of everybody's tongue. And now it's a matter of having embedded that. Now AI can start to use those tools to, like you said, give more information that in the past was just very difficult to secure. And I think it's going to change things. Everybody's very concerned that it may take jobs away. I believe it will be a job creator, not a job destroyer. At the end of the day, it may impact certain jobs, but I think it's going to open up many more jobs to go forward. We have a large audience of ambitious Canadian entrepreneurs who are tuning in. What are some of the practical steps or strategies that you would recommend to help them initiate their global exporting endeavors successfully?
I would say really the first step is list why you want to do this. You have to do this for the right reasons. And once you've identified the top 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons why you want to become an exporter, put beside it, what are the key strengths you already have that will facilitate or enable delivering upon these reasons, and also the weaknesses. And then either you've done this alone, depending on the size of your business or your type of leadership, but the sooner the better, bring your team part of the discussion. Make it a conversation, because you cannot do this alone. I have in mind this transaction we did in Holland. Beautiful company, great technology. And for us, it was, yay, we're going to scale them. And for all good and bad reasons, we didn't meet with all of the management. The 2 owners wanted total secrecy, and it was a key transaction for us. And we made a compromise of not meeting the top 5, 6 leaders, which we always do. And this goes back to 1999. And we've never made that mistake or compromise again since then. So it sounds very simple. It might sound corny, but do it for the right reasons. Establish exactly the foundation you're starting with, both the solid aspects and also the weaknesses. But you need a team. And you need a team that the husband or the wife agrees that you'll miss a few birthdays and you'll miss a few holidays or a few significant dates in your family, because this is going to happen. There's no way you're going to do this without maybe being on the road on July 1st, or being on the road when it's your wedding anniversary, or being on the road when your kids turn 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 10. You're going to miss a lot of those moments and you'll navigate around it, but there's no way you're going to avoid this. And then it's what you make out of it. You make it count. There's quality and there's quantity. Without quality in your personal and family life is not the right scenario. When you're there, you have to be there, and they accept that when you're not there, you're going to be back and you're going to be a good dad or a good mom or a good brother or sister. So it's important to establish the motivation, to establish what you have in your toolbox, and then you have to bring people on board for the journey. This is not something you can do alone. And it includes your suppliers and your partners and your bankers. It means reaching out to organizations like EDC and others, BDC, or your banks, whatever. Don't try to do this alone, and bring people on that journey as early as possible in your thought process.
Yeah. So you're saying be prepared to make sacrifices, be passionate, and try and find some really good partners to help you, whether they be external partners or internal management team partners, and that'll get you there. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I think running a business that like you're running is very complex. You are a wonderful guest to have. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and experiences today. It's been truly an enlightening conversation. We appreciate your time and expertise, and keep inspiring and making a global impact. Jean, it's a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us today on the Export Impact Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. See you back here in 2 weeks.